first time I've really done sort of a review on stuff. I tend not to do it because, well, frankly, I'm pretty shit, but hey ho. We'll get straight on with the show. RetroArms version 3 gearbox. Turns up in a nice little box, foam filled, comes with all your machine screws and your quick spring change spring guide, which is really nicely finished. Comes with some stickers as well. It's very nicely made, I'm not going to lie. It is a really nicely made gearbox. Externally you can see where it's been machined, it's been CNC'd, and it's just, you can even see where the machine has milled out in spiral formation. This one's partially built, you can even hear the tolerances are just mint on it. The piston, nice and fluid, it's not much friction there at all. This one here in particular is 8mm bearings, and they fitted nicely. Currently this one's shimmed down to 1 SHS gears, which shimmed in really nicely, to be honest. They shimmed perfectly. It's using an original Keimer anti-reversal latch because why replace something that's not broken? Ultimately, that is a little bit of an issue. The gearbox seems to sit a tiny little bit wider than a standard Keimer box. I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up. Just there you can see the anti-reversal latch, you can see how it's a little bit sunk into it. It's a little bit sunk into the gearbox. Any thinner and I think you'd either have to shim it slightly or it would just drop out of the gearbox, which is something that you don't want. That is an SHF tappet plate. It's nice, it's free running, it's really nice externally, it's very nicely made. My only real quibble externally is some of these edges. It's just like they've been finished, but it's almost like somebody hasn't taken the care to, you know, finish them. That piece in particular, I have taken skin off my knuckles already, and it does that. I've got a cut on the side of my finger from last night from this gearbox shell, because in places it is actually really sharp. That piece, you know, you got a little piece down there where the trigger assembly would sit. That's quite sharp. And all these edges, they're all quite sharp. I mean, you can scrape the tops off your nails with it. It's that sharp. But still, when you put it all together, the screws go in perfectly. It tightens down nicely. It tightens out straight, and it's completely. It seems very true in its straightness. And it does go together absolutely perfectly as well. There's barely a line there. I've seen mould lines in plastic bigger than that. So, but yeah, it's all laser engraved. As you can see there, it's all laser engraved. You can hear it. It's quite deep actually. It's for laser engraving. It's actually very nice. It's very sharp. Well, laser engraving normally is, to be honest, but this is really good quality stuff. As it says there, made out of 70-75 aluminium. According to the website, it's billet aluminium it starts life as. So you know that as long as it's been machined right with the grain of the material, it's going to be really super strong. These are apparently tested up to a 160 spring, so if it can take a 160 spring, it can take any UK build that you can throw at it, even a DSG. This thing will just laugh at it. I haven't actually got the quick spring change to hand because it's currently downstairs, but you can see it. You push it in, force the spring in a little bit, twist it, and then let it go, and it pops into place either side of there on the rear. And it does go in, and it is secure once it's locked in. Apart from it has a little bit of up and down wobble on it. Whether that affects the gearbox, probably not really. No one seems to have had any complaints about that side, but you know, we shall see. can also see it's got little pins here that are actually they're interference fitted into the shell. They're there to not only help line it up, but also they strengthen the front a little bit as well. Now, internally, all the pins that are supposed to be there, all the little sticky up bits and stuff, they're all there, and they're all really nicely machined, all nicely finished. The spring for the cut-off lever is there, and the little pin that sits on is actually really small, but it's not going to break anytime soon. It is actually pretty damn strong. You can see where your selector pieces would sit for you to fit onto your selector arm. This was bought for an AK. Now, I think most of the good points are out of the way. It is a really nice gearbox to handle, bar the sharp corners, but it is very nicely made, don't get me wrong. Oh, and all the little selector bits in there, the little selector cams and stuff, they all fit absolutely perfectly. But this is where it goes a little bit miserable. I'm going to be completely honest, I was actually really disappointed in this gearbox shell. Costs a lot of money, and when a factory says compatible with most regular type AK bodies, or most regular type bodies, especially AKs, you kind of expect it to fit most regular type AK bodies, i.e. the TM pattern one, which is, at one point, was the most common AK. It's not until recently where manufacturers like Keimer have switched to the VFC pattern, and you got LCT, Inakatsu, E&L, and they all make absolute top-line products, and they make it out of steel to a more traditional method. So it's more like the real receiver, pinned and welded, etc., out of steel. This, it will probably drop into one of those, to be fair, and it probably will. Funnily enough, though, I don't have 200 quid to throw at a new body, so I tried fitting this into my Keimer. It was a CMO28, which is the old one, based on a TM. It's a TM clone. So it has the shorter nozzle on it, and it has the slightly different receiver. Now, this wouldn't fit into my standard metal receiver, and it just flat out refused to fit, which was quite annoying because I did modify it to within an inch of its life to try and get this thing to fit, and it still would not fit. And frankly, there's next to no material left on the back. I've got about 0.5 mil of material left on the back where the stock attaches. So yeah, it wasn't going to get modified anymore after that. But anyway, I'm digressing massively now, because this thing infuriates me. But it wouldn't fit in my AK body, the King Arms one, that they categorically said it would. I have contacted them since, last night in fact, and I know it's not long, but they still haven't replied. And the first time I asked them about a query, they replied within, to be honest, a couple of hours of me sending the message, which was top line. Now they just don't seem interested. I'm sorry, a 130 quid gearbox shell should not require to be completely reshaped to drop into the gun it was designed for, especially when the manufacturer has said it will fit. Call me crazy, but you'd kind of think that it would fit when you've been told it will fit. But no. As it stands, back of the gearbox is completely the wrong shape. It's too flat. So that binds on the rear of the receiver where it's slightly shaped towards a standard version 3. Now if I was to file that down, not only would it void the lifetime warranty, because that's another good point, these have a lifetime warranty on them, manufacturers. If I was to file that down, it would not only void my warranty, but it would also, to be honest, really weaken the back end. When you've got a piston going like that, up and down inside there, which is, that whole section is pretty much a stress point, and that's going up and down 30, 40, 70 times a second if I was going for a really crazy high speed build. In my case, it's about 25 to 27 rounds per second out of this, because I haven't gone mad with it. I haven't short stroked it or anything like that. I wanted it to just like work. But that seriously degrades the back end. I mean, I'd have to take off more material than I'd really like to, and considering that the sidewall there is no more than 4mm thick, not even that, I don't think, 3mm thick on there, that's what I've got to play with. I'm cutting through nearly all of that to get this thing to fit. I could modify the receiver, but then I'm carving into a brand new receiver, which has just cost like 60 quid. And then the real hindrance. I could almost cope with that if I did a little bit on both. Fine. Don't want to, because it is a stress component. Dum dum dum. The front. That was the other bit that was stopping me fitting this gearbox. Note how they've radiused it. Retro, that's just lazy. Even Core have managed to square that bit off. So don't say it's your tooling, because it's not. It's just lazy. Other gearboxes have managed to have that square that have been CNC'd, so get over it. But to get that to fit, I have to fire that back so it's actually level with the horizontal there and the vertical there. So it comes to a point, which, to be honest, when you look at this, it's actually down close to breaching the gearbox again. 130 quid gearbox. And I've just had to breach it twice to get it to fit in a gun that it was made for. Not only that, but I'm really not sure about doing that, because, well, it's the front of the gearbox, isn't it? What was the most common failure point on a version 2? Well, it would have been the front of the gearbox. Why was the version 3 made? Well, not only to fit a new design of guns, a la AK, among other version 3 guns, the MP5K runs a version 3 as well, but it was to address the issues that owners of version 2s had, which was the front breaking off. Now they beefed it all up, you've got a nice cross section there, it's quite beefed up. The front of these falling off is pretty damn rare. Now if I was to drill through there, I've just weakened that whole front end of the gearbox, because your stress point is there. Right where the cylinder head is, maybe a little bit back. Obviously I'm zorbathaned up, which will take some of the impact. However, I've still got a piston shooting backwards and forwards with anything up to a 110 spring behind it. Now, if I was to file that back, chances of the front end actually coming off over here in the UK with our lower tolerance or our lower FPS levels and the lower powers that we require is probably slim to none. However, it's a 130 quid gearbox. Do you really, really want to take that chance of destroying your gearbox and having no warranty to fall back on should it fail? Because you have modified it. As it stands, I can't actually modify the receiver of the AK at that point because there's no material. There's about a millimetre of material there, a millimetre of aluminium sits along the bottom there, just at the back of the mag well, just in front of the trigger, the step. Now, if I was to file that out to smooth it off to a curve to match that, there'll actually be no receiver there. I'll just have a big hole. Well, that's kind of not why I'm in this business. I'm not kind of in this game to cut holes into a receiver unless it's some kind of weird and crazy invention that I'm coming out with. And frankly, it's not. So, yeah, far from impressed about that.